you, Bob, and thank everybody for participating, taking part in getting this wonderful service going. So as we begin, I want to make sure that I personally welcome everyone here today, because it is important that we are together. We are not here by accident. We're here because something divine is unfolding in our lives. This is not just a happenstance. This is something that we, part of the pattern of our unfoldment, are here to experience. Welcome to the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. The science of mind is a correlation of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelation of religion applied to human need and the aspirations of humankind. Today, this month, in fact, this entire month is devoted to the theme of faith. So we are going to examine faith in 4 different ways. Today, first of all, I will speak about what is faith. If you ever try to define what faith is, see if you can answer the question, do you have faith? Don't answer me right now. Speak to yourself about that. So our topic today is faith. The theme is faith for the month. But today we're going to talk about faith, what it is. So some additional reading from the Science of Mind goes like this. Faith is the power of prayer. Now, what is faith? When you analyze faith, you find that it is a mental attitude against which there is no longer any contradiction in the mind that entertains it. Unfortunately, Dr. Holmes says, we find there is great faith in fear. Faith in fear that one may lose his position. Faith in fear that one may lose material possessions. Faith in fear that one may lose his health, and so on and on and on and on. Faith and fear use the same energy. Fear is faith backwards, or fear is faith, the opposite of faith. If the mental attitude is in relationship, if faith in God, the mental attitude is relationship to God, he says that is faith in God. If it is relationship to one's ability to write a poem, for instance, that is faith in one's creative ability. Holmes says that faith is a mental attitude which is so convinced of its own idea, which so completely accepts it, that any contradiction is unthinkable and impossible. Before such a mental attitude can be created, there must be nothing left in the subjective state of our thought which contradicts our objective affirmation. End of quote. You'll find that on page 283. So, based on that level of talking about faith, do you have faith? Faith is a mental assertion elevated to the plane of realization. That's another definition. Faith is a mental assertion elevated to the plane of realization. It is beyond the mere quibbling of mumbling of words, for it identifies itself with reality in such a manner that reality becomes real to the believer. The invisible becomes visible to the mind, and the unseen real. You'll find that on page 283. If we think that the words spoken in prayer are what does the work, be not mistaken or deceived. The words without faith are merely hot air. Without belief, faith and conviction, there will be no action. Do you have faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You'll find that in the Bible. Faith is real to the one who experiences it and cannot be denied to the one who has proven it. And what is this faith we are talking about? What is this faith that we should have? We should have faith, Holmes says, that there is but one mind. This mind is both the mind of God and the mind of man. We use the same mind of God since there's only one mind. This mind is the essence of creativeness and the essence of goodness. It is available to all. It is no respecter of persons, since it has already incarnated through all people. It is in all and through all. Do you have faith? That's a question we really have to examine when we understand what faith really is, or are we mistaken? On page 48, which is really towards the beginning of that book, The Science of Mind, he says, if a man is seeking to demonstrate, he must tell himself that he has faith in his power, in his ability, in the principle, and in the certainty of the demonstration for which he works. Faith, being a mental attitude, is according to law, and even though one doubts, he can overcome his doubt and create the desired faith, definitely. So faith is about, not so much about faith in something else other than yourself. Faith is about convincing yourself that what you believe is firm, is confident, and there is no doubt. You cannot talk yourself out of it, because there is nothing left in the subjective mind, the subconscious mind, that contradicts it. Do you really have faith? That's a question I think all of us really must look at again. Do we really have faith? To those who say, I don't think I have faith enough to do certain demonstrations, certain things to fulfill my ultimate dream, here's what Dr. Holmes has to say about that. He says, faith in a specific statement has power consciously to oppose, neutralize, and obliterate the opposite mental attitude. Should I say that again? Faith is a specific statement. Faith, rather, in a specific statement, has power consciously to oppose, neutralize, and obliterate the opposite mental attitude. So if there is any doubt in your mind, know that you have faith to be able to obliterate, neutralize, and completely dissolve any fear that you do have faith. Because of this fact, that is, study is a science. This study is a science because we can use the principles over and over again to achieve the same thing, the same result. That can definitely be used. And we must accept it if we're going to make it work, because it requires faith. Faith comes by understanding. Faith comes as a result of knowing. Do you have faith? Is the question again. Do you really have faith? One must specifically turn to that thought which tells us we do not know how to use it. Turn to that thought and repudiate it because it's a falsehood. Are you able to do that with your doubts? When you have doubts and fear, you have to take mental action because it's a mental challenge. You have to take mental action to rid yourself of doubt. The principle that we have to demonstrate is perfect. And insofar as we can compel the mind to perceive the perfection so far, it will automatically demonstrate. Experience has proven this to be true. This is why we are so confident in the principles of the science of mind, because it is based on the power of our natural being. It's based on spiritual law. There's a spiritual law involved, and this law executes the word. You have the power and ability to talk with the mind and to use your life as a laboratory. If you really want to know if things work, use your own life as a laboratory. Investigate, test it, prove it. We discover laws, find out how they work, and then begin to use them. You'll find out on page 50 if you're looking at True Science of Mind. So Holmes says in bold print, which I read before, he says this: faith is a mental attitude which is so convinced of itself that any contradiction is unthinkable and impossible. I mean, that is as powerfully as a statement made about the conviction that is required to have faith that never fails. Faith is a mental assertion elevated to the plane of realization. What does that mean? What does that say in English? In English, that says that when you believe something, if you believe it enough, it shows up in reality. It shows up in your life. That's the realization. You realize it. When you realize something, that means that you have made it possible in your mind. You've seen it in your mind. You've seen it in your life. You've realized things. If you realize something, it is present. It's not a wish. It's not a hope. It's a mental assertion elevated to the place of realization. So before such a mental attitude can be created, there must be nothing left in the subconscious, the subjective mind, in the language of science of mind, in the subjective state of our thought, which contradicts our objective affirmation. An objective affirmation is the affirmative statement you make about yourself. If there is nothing in you left to contradict that, then you can say, I have faith beyond any form of objection. When you say, I believe, I have faith that this can manifest, that is a mental assertion. The question we must answer remains, is there anything in my subconscious mind that contradicts that assertion? Is there? Do you have faith? Amazing. Faith is a mental assertion to the plane of realization. Means to the level of realization, the same level that you have realized something, that's where your faith takes you. It is beyond quibbling, Holmes says, beyond quibbling or mumbling of words, for it identifies itself with a reality with a big R. Reality is that reality that refers to the power and life of God. That really becomes real to the believer. The belief, the invisible, becomes visible to the mind, and the unseen becomes real. Do you have faith? Why is it that one man's prayers are answered, found in the Science of Mind? Good question. Why is it that one man's prayers are answered while another remains unanswered? Page 156. And Holmes deals with it. He says, it cannot be that God desires more good for one person than another. It cannot be that. It must be that all persons in their approach to reality receive results not because of what they believe in, but because of their belief. So that's a riddle for you to solve. Faith is an affirmative mental approach to reality. So my question is, what do you believe about what you believe in? Can you figure that out? Would be a good answer for you to find out and ask yourself, what do I really believe about what I believe in? And you see, that's where the power of your faith either succeeds or fails. One should have faith in himself, faith in his fellow man, in the universe and in God. Our mind must be steady in its conviction that our life is some part of God. Is your life steady? Is your faith steady in that conviction? And that the Spirit is incarnated in us. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Faith is a substance that looks like what it means to manifest in your life, for the evidence of things not seen. So it says what is unseen becomes seen. Faith looks to the invisible, and instead of seeing a void, it fastens its gaze upon a solid reality. Faith is not hope. Too many people mix that up. Faith is not hope. It is substance. It does not look away from itself. Being substance, it looks within itself. In doing this, it realizes that the life of God is also the life of man. Faith affirms this and denies anything and everything that contradicts what it is, the supreme fact of existence. Faith should be one of understanding. Solomon talks about that. The greater your understanding, the greater your faith. He says, in all you're getting, get understanding. How much time do you spend in trying to understand why your life has not been working the way you would like it to be? And I'm not talking about murmuring and mumbling. I'm not talking about complaining and blaming. I'm talking about a true analytical examination of what your mind has been doing for you. What do you believe about what you believe in? That is what matters. Faith should be one of understanding. So faith may be said to be scientific, because if you could analyze it down to understanding, it is scientific. That is, we are now dealing with a principle that has been defined, and we know something about the way it works. We know how to use the law governing it. Faith in this law helps us to use our understanding with great conviction. Faith is not something that you just wishy-washy get. It's based on facts, on science, on the way it works. So do you have faith? I want you to really think about that question. Do you have faith? Faith looks to the invisible, and instead of seeing a void, it fastens its gaze upon a solid reality. Do you have faith? Faith is not hope. It is a substance. It does not look away from itself. Being substance, it looks within itself. How many times we have faith and we look elsewhere for the answer? How many times we have faith and we think, well, it's going to come from some other source? He is saying faith looks within itself. Faith is not hope. He says hope is good, It's better than despair, but it is a subtle illusion, and it is an unconscious compromise and has no part in an effective mental, spiritual mind treatment. That's hope. Hope is a subtle illusion. We should say, doubt, where did you come from? Ask it. Who is your father? Page 49, Science of Mind. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That inimitable substance that alone can open the universe of all possibility to those whom it is done unto. Do you know something? The world is open to your possibility. Whatever you think is possible, the world is open to that possibility becoming a reality. I'd like to repeat one more thing here, and I said it a few times. Faith is a mental attitude which is so convinced of its own idea, which so completely accepts it, that any contradiction, listen to this, is unthinkable and impossible. Do you have faith? I love you guys, and I hope you continue to work on the spirit inside of you that is urging, anxious, and eager to take you to the next level. So I invite you to take time. My 10 take times to muse. Take time to muse. Take time to reflect. Take time to be silent. Take time to be in awe. Take time to contemplate. Take time to meditate. Take time to be alone. Take time to be quiet. Take time to hear the silence. And above all, take time to know yourself. When you do, you will answer the question, do I have faith? Namaste. Thank you all for listening. Let's have a prayer about increasing our faith. So as we close our eyes, we open our minds, we open our hearts. We remove the distractions that have been there in our subjective mind and our subconscious mind that allows us to have doubt. We open our hearts now to that infinite power, that ultimate universal love that always says yes. We know that there is the power and presence of God right here, right now, in the conviction of our words. Are we convicted 100% when we say, I know that I am made in the image and likeness of God, and that which is in the macro is in the micro, and I am a microcosm of God. In understanding completely what that really means, I fully and completely open myself now to the wonderful possibility of goodness, of love, of success, of prosperity, of peace, of wholeness, and all the good qualities that are waiting to manifest itself through me. I am a blessing not only to my own personal life, but to all those with whom I come in contact. My words become powerful, and they manifest according to my belief. They manifest because I believe that my words become flesh and they dwell in my life. And so my life is fulfilling. It is loving, filled with love, filled with peace, filled with prosperity. When we say this to ourselves, when I say this to myself, I become more convinced and convicted that that is the truth of my being, nothing less, no contradiction. I allow any appearances of contradiction to disappear, be annihilated and removed and obliterated from my life. When I own all these powerful statements as my truth, I am fulfilled. I give thanks for the power of the spoken word. And I know that it is unfolding right now as I turn it over to that same one immutable law that only knows how to do superlatively well every verbal, spiritual, mental commandment I have given it. And let us all say together, and so it is. Amen. So now what I would like to encourage you to do is to support this. If you believe that what we have just experienced in the last few seconds should be shared with the rest of the world, help us to do that. Support the Science of Mind and the way in which so many, we have 600 or so centers around the world, more than enough to create world peace. But remember, it always begins with me. You say that to yourself, it all begins with me, because you are the center, you are the source of the declaration that you have put out into the universe. So I invite you to share with us, help us to become so prosperous by your attention, by your giving, by your sharing. We invite you to send us whatever finances you can give us to continue our work, to continue our commitment to helping people to rise out of a negative life into one of joy, peace, and success. And you can do that by sending a gift to, or a tithe to our P.O. Box 1261 in Middletown. It'll go right there. Or you can send a check to that place also, or a donation in any form that is cashable. And we thank you, we bless it. We know that as you give, you receive. When you give, you activate the law of circulation. Every action has a reaction. So when you act in finances, your reaction will be finances. When you plant, your action grows. And so that's the reaction. The reaction is that it grows in you. You become more. Every time you give something, you open yourself to receive more of what you gave, because that's the law of growth. It's an increasing law, not a diminishing law. And too many people think when they give, they don't have enough left. See, that's a diminishing attitude that causes less to be returned. If you give with the attitude that more comes onto me, then the attitude is open to increase.